to be a part of this inaugural program that our provinces, like the people of our province, have been advocating for, and our professions have been advocating for decades. And now it's happening. Like, you can apply to go to school here this fall. Like, it's honestly surreal.
Hello, I'm Eric Anderson. The voice you just heard belongs to Kara Brox. Kara, along with Tami Turner, are the featured guests in Season 7, Episode 9 of YXE Underground. For more than 50 years, Saskatchewan's occupational therapy and speech-language pathologist communities have advocated for a university program in our province that would educate and train students in these professions. That dream will soon become a reality at the University of Saskatchewan. In this episode, you will meet the two women who are designing the province's first master's program in occupational therapy and speech-language pathology, and discover why this work means so much to them here on YXE Underground. I was introduced to the world of speech-language pathologists in 1986. I was 4 years old, living in Swift Current, and I had a really difficult time forming words. I would get frustrated, so frustrated, and lash out because nobody except my parents could understand what I was trying to say. Luckily, my parents found a speech-language pathologist who worked with me for 3 years and helped me in so many different ways. There is a very high demand for the work of SLPs in our city and province, not only with children, but adults as well. And the same can be said for the work being done by occupational therapists. I did not know much about occupational therapists before I started working at Sherbrooke Community Centre, where we are lucky to have several amazing OTs who do so much for residents in long-term care. There are lots of different definitions of what an occupational therapist does, but I like this one I found online from the Cleveland Medical Clinic. It states, an occupational therapist is a healthcare provider who helps you improve your ability to perform daily tasks. For decades, if you were interested in becoming an occupational therapist or speech-language pathologist, you would have to leave the province. That will change in September of 2026 when the University of Saskatchewan launches a Masters of Speech-Language Pathology and Masters of Occupational Therapy programs. How these new master's programs will work together to meet the demand in our province is just one of the questions I had for Kara Brox and Tami Turner. Kara is an SLP, creator and owner of the Speech Language Network business here in Saskatoon, and is the Speech Language Pathology Implementation Coordinator with the UofS. She was also the third ever guest on this podcast way back in 2018. Tami is an occupational therapist who has worked with universities across Canada, developing OT programs and recruiting students, and she is the Occupational Therapist Implementation Coordinator with the UofS. They have worked together for the past year building these new master's programs from scratch with the help of many new colleagues and are so excited for the positive impact it will have on people throughout Saskatchewan. Kara and Tami are passionate about making a difference in our communities, and I love how they have become dear friends through this process. You would never guess that they didn't know each other until the university tasked them with creating these two new master's programs. I met with Kara and Tami last week in the University of Saskatchewan's Health Sciences building to learn more about how all of this came to be and the impact their work is going to have in our communities. I started by asking Tami how she describes what an occupational therapist does.
I get that question a lot because we have occupation in our title. So there's a lot of assumptions that we just do things related to work or those sorts of pieces. So it's like, oh, you help people return to work. But really, it's broader than that. It's really an amazing, highly educated profession with, again, I usually go down to the very beginning of we just help people do things. So do anything that they find meaningful, because there is obviously attachment to health and well-being. So whether that's, maybe they're in the aging process and they need to do something a different way, maybe they've experienced a trauma or are dealing with mental health and substance use disorders, looking at ways to cope, again, just to do basic life skills, all the way to working with governments and communities and agency and policy building. So we have a large scope that I think people just don't really are aware of, and sometimes even students entering our program aren't aware of the full scope.
Really? Like they don't realize like all the things they could do.
That's right. I didn't even know what occupational therapy was. I think I was in my second or third year of kinesiology, and it was the guidance counselor there. So again, I was on that same trajectory of maybe physical therapist or medicine or something like that. It wasn't until I had heard from her about occupational therapy again, because it wasn't in our province, took a prerequisite class, and then went to the University of Alberta with, at that time, it was 15 seats in the program of Saskatchewan students.
Can I ask what was it when that guidance counselor told you about occupational therapy that just like clicked for you?
Yeah, I think again it was just knowing that it wasn't just a physical medicine-based program. It was really holistic. So we looked at the person from, their spirit, emotional, mental health, well-being, as well as the physical, and how that worked together. And again, multiple areas where we can work, like acute care hospitals, outpatient clinics, again, schools. Again, we're even in regional psychiatric centers, the justice system. There was just multiple areas that I felt like even after working for 10 years, I didn't have to be stagnant. Like I could go somewhere else and have an amazing opportunity within the same profession.
I have lots more questions about OT, but I don't want to exclude our friend Kara, who's sitting waiting patiently.
I'm sitting here going, because our amazing OT that I work with at my office, one time also described I was like, but kids in occupational therapy, and lots of times we think maybe writing or whichever, maybe sensory stuff, that seems to be a buzzword at times, but she's like, well, no, kids have all kinds of occupations. And I was like, well, what do you mean? She's like, tying your shoes, brushing your teeth, those are learning to play, those are kids' occupations. And I thought that was a really good, we all kind of have our jobs, right? And even as kids, that's our job.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing is that the term occupation is so broad and so meaningful for the individual that it could be really anything. So I think that's why it's so hard to describe. So I appreciate Kara interjecting there, because we do go from birth to death, right? So we have a role, both of our professions, along that lifespan, which I think, again, people only think we work in certain areas. And one thing I do appreciate is our professions complement each other so well, and we co-treat and are often having some amazing interactions professionally. So I'm excited for the students to be able to have that in the training of their program.
And I am excited to talk about that too, or ask you about that, because I think it's so neat how this is all coming together. Kara, can I ask you, for people who might not know what a speech language pathologist does, can you explain what all the amazing things that you do?
Well, it is a really fascinating and awesome field. And I think what people often forget is communication obviously starts with a baby's first cries and coos, and it's with us throughout a lifetime. And SLPs work with, as well, same as occupational therapy, zero to death, or across a lifespan. And we have the privilege of working with little kiddos with those maybe some developmental delays or basic speech language learning delays. We work in feeding and swallowing and auditory processing and stuttering, and then we also support individuals post-stroke or with neurogenic communication disorders. So again, it's a huge area, and I think it's so meaningful and relevant because communication and connection unites us, right? And it shapes our relationships, it shapes our interactions, and it shapes our lives forever. So, as speech language pathologists, it's our role to support people to remove barriers, to ensure that they have a way to engage and communicate across a lifetime. So
that's so true. Yeah, and I think it's something that we take for granted, that we can just say what we're feeling or say what we're thinking, but it's not the case for everybody, is it?
No, it certainly isn't. But it also doesn't have to be that way. And so, it's. I always come back to, Maslow's hierarchy of the 5 needs in life. And, we need food and water, and we need shelter and a good environment. But we also need that human connection, which obviously is relationships and communication in order to survive. It's just a part of our well-being. So having, working and being in this field and getting to be a part of people's journeys is a real privilege. And we're very fortunate in Saskatchewan for all I think the dedication and the work that our communication health professionals have provided for people. And I mean, I'm in the field, but they really should be acknowledged for what they are doing in community. Yeah.
So thank you both for explaining to listeners what it is that you do. But I'm so curious, how did your worlds come together to the point where we're at the university right now and we're talking about this new master's program for SLPs and for OTs? How did this all come to be? Who would like to start with that?
I think just sort of going back to my personal journey and doing this and being part of the OT community, clinical community before, and I know from the SLP community too, this is something having a program locally in our province has been something that's been worked on for decades, like since the 70s. And so I know that there's been lots of conversations, lots of advocacy, lots of meetings, and we're also some of the underrepresented professions in the province. So we have like just over 400 practicing OTs, but that could vary from administrative to clinical to people maybe being in the education side of things, including the UofS. So again, and then nationally, we are the second lowest compared to none of it. So we have about 28.1 per 100,000. So again, having said that, they're a small but mighty group that has just been continuing to, again, provide service, making changes in the community, and then again, being a big part of the process for this program. So typically being part of that in the clinical community, I have worked in various provinces and had just come back in the pandemic. And again, sort of had that reinvigoration of needing to know that we need a program in this province to support the clinicians. So again, I had the privilege of coming from my previous position in the Saskatchewan Health Authority to this opportunity. And then again, this opportunity came up and there had been a lot of work done before I was even here by a lot of people in the clinical community and the College of Medicine and the School of Rehab Science that then helped a good foundation for Kara and I to start in these positions in August of 2024. So again, Kara and I didn't know each other before this. But again, now we share an office and we know each other very well. And again, I think being different strengths and different networks and different ability to kind of collaborate and kind of, again, complement each other, that supports both of our professions to then be in the privilege of being able to develop these programs to where they are to date. So, yeah.
From a speech language pathologist perspective, what is it like to get to this point, Kara?
Surreal, I would say. I think, so our government announced the funding for the OT and SLP programs in the spring of 2024, and that was in response to the Health Human Resources Action Plan for the province. So as to echo Tami, there's been decades of advocacy efforts for OT and SLP programs in Saskatchewan. And I'm very fortunate to be here now. I come from the private sector, to bring that lens to developing this program as somebody that's worked kind of all over the province. I've done a little bit of work at health and then lots in education and the private industry. So yeah, it's pretty incredible to be here. And again, things like this don't happen without the work of the community and the advocacy and the people that have put themselves forward to again, advocate for these programs over the last few decades. So yeah, it's pretty awesome. And we're here now, and it's been a whirlwind and a bit of a roller coaster, but we're getting there, and it's going to be a really incredible program. And one thing that I don't know if many people know is that this will be the first fully integrated program in Canada. So that means it'll be the first fully integrated MPT, MOT, and MSLP programs. So our students get to learn alongside PTs and OTs, like physical therapists, occupational therapists, and speech language pathologists. So it's completely integrated. So lots of programs offer all three programs, but this one will actually be offered together.
Wow. Okay, so one thing I was really anxious to ask you both about is why is that a good mix? Why is it a good mix, OT and SLP and now physiotherapy too? Like, I didn't know about that, but why do these worlds merge so nicely?
Yeah, I think, again, just having like Kara said, they were sort of siloed. So being able to be strategically harmonized, because we know a team does have the best benefits and outcomes for the patients and clients that we see. So again, we all have a way to complement each other. We all have the goals of making somebody the most successful based on their strengths, making goals with them together that are really meaningful. So again, there's things that, again, we have specialty training that complement each other. So again, having that opportunity for the students to be part of that interprofessional education, having the programs highlight the College of Medicine and School of Rehab Sciences' continued commitment to providing healthcare training opportunities that benefit the people of Saskatchewan. Again, hopefully we'll have more people coming into these programs from Saskatchewan as well. So those are just some things I think, because again, having to go out of province right now for SLP and OT training and then coming back as a clinician, there is some challenges with that, right? Because you miss that unique opportunity to learn alongside your colleagues as students, what that interprofessional team might be. Some of that interprofessional education is just not happening right now, which we have an amazing opportunity with our new programs coming on board along with physiotherapy.
I don't feel that anybody gets into any of these professions without having a strong desire to help people. So just like that innate willingness to dig in, to dive deep, to create connections, to get to know people. I would also say highly creative people, engaging people. I would say that those are some common characteristics of a lot of the individuals in these programs. And then as far as the work, I mean, like there will be a lot of overlap with, like, from an academic standpoint, how we serve Saskatchewan communities, like how our communities are made up. So, we will have the opportunity to have, students doing placements at the same time together, and getting to experience multidisciplinary service delivery before they even graduate. So that's a very unique thing. And as well, like we are all in professions that work across the lifespan. So I would say those are some of the most common things.
And just from, me, myself, only having, I would say, a little bit of a pinky nail in academia prior to this. So coming into this world too has just been a little bit of a change for me, but there's been such support from our academic lead, the School of Rehab Science, and again, on days where Kara and I, because it's a unique situation for us to be creating two new programs, so having each other of somebody who sort of gets it, right, out of the same sort of blend. So again, there's some days where I might need just a little bit of a Kara pep talk that helps me sort of get through, or again, just being able, from her lens, being able to appreciate it from professional and a lens that maybe I wouldn't have considered. Like, it does take a team. So I think, again, not having to do this in isolation and sharing an office, being able to be creative, idea bouncing, that sort of thing has been truly instrumental. I can't imagine doing it with anyone else, honestly.
And Tami and I have been so incredibly fortunate. Like, this is not a small undertaking. These are huge, huge programs, huge, and they're master's level programs. So the people that the UofS and the School of Rehabilitation Sciences have put on this team has been incredible. Like, the hours, the effort, the, collection of data from across Canada, all of the site visits, connecting with many universities across, like, it's all been done, and they've done it in such a short period of time. And I think one thing that many people don't know is a lot of these people were just put into these roles. So lots of people on our committees and search committees, and whether it be faculty recruitment or curriculum design, already have jobs. So this has been added on them. and there's been nothing but, not only positive feedback and support from the School of Rehabilitation Sciences, but also across Canada. We've had so much support from the universities, U of A, University of Toronto, McGill, St. Augusta, UBC, like teams of people meeting with us to support us in the development of this. And then also our own university. So connecting with all of, like, many of the colleges and receiving, letters of support. How can we help? So College of Anatomy supporting us with curriculum or, course design, or like I said, like nursing, psychology, linguistics, like they've all been just, it's really like amazing. And again, a lot of what we're doing is, putting more on them. Right. So yeah, so it's been a really unique experience on that front.
Thank you for explaining that to me. And as you were telling me about the work, like it was dawning on me just how much work this would have been for you both. And I'm Kara's shaking her head right now. It made me think, and this is in no way a comparison, and I was kind of laughing in my head, but in my first year as a high school teacher, like I made a unit plan for a novel called The Chrysalids. I don't know if you guys remember that novel. And that, to me, that was a lot of work. What you two are doing is creating a master's program at the university level, and it's a 1-year program, is what?
27 months.
27 months.
So it's 130. It's around 125 to 135 credit units of curriculum mapping over 27 months that aligns with MPT, with the Masters of Physical Therapy program, and also needs to meet all competency and curriculum standards for Canada.
So it's slightly more work than a unit plan for grade 10 English with the Chrysalids. I think we've established that. Like, at any point, did it seem overwhelming to you both in creating this?
Yeah. So again, like I say, it's we have a really supportive team, and we're able to leverage some of the expertise, like in the university as well as some of the other programs, and specifically for OT, people have been are envious actually that we get to start a program from the beginning. So they've been established programs in Canada for quite some time. So again, we're the first one. So they're all, it's kind of like, well, if you could do it again tomorrow, what would you sort of do? And everyone's been very helpful in terms of sharing information, kind of meeting, again, the site visits. So again, I think when you look at it from a large scale, but when you go down to section by section, you get that state of overwhelming, but you just kind of think of, at the end goal, we're going to have 40 students graduating, 40 student cohorts graduating for both of our programs that were not there. I just think 5 years down the road after that, how amazing our communities are going to evolve. Again, having this being such a long-standing thing that has been needed for our communities to have access to these services, maybe to help with some of the pragmatics in terms of wait lists and getting access to service. So again, it can feel overwhelming, but when you think of the larger picture and just take a step back, we know that we're doing it for, again, not only ourselves who came before us and now and the future of the students that'll be able to stay in the province where they're wanting to train. It's just, again, that takes away any overwhelming feeling that I have kind of developing and supporting the program. Yeah.
And I think about the students, but I honestly really, really, really think about the people and communities. So I'm just going to have a moment here. I always get a little emotional, but we have been so, there's so few of us and has been for so long. So we have all these pioneers in the province that have been managing insurmountable caseloads and doing their best to, be there for people and the people that need them, and just being kind of overextended. And I think Saskatchewan people and residents should be so incredibly proud and also excited for the future. And I think they should be proud of the fabric of the people that have been selected to really contribute to this program development. Grateful, to have this type of funding to get these programs going. And I'm most excited not only for our students, but for our families to feel empowered isn't the right word, but to kind of have like access and have like that champion in their corner, right? Mm-hmm. Like when people, you know, are navigating parenthood and they suspect something's going on with their little ones, it's hard, right? And then having to wait and wait and wait for that support or some guidance, and or a parent, you know, you're looking after an aging parent that's had a stroke, and you just need that extra support or guidance on what to do. So just having those people available, right, is just going to be a game changer. And I think I speak on behalf of Tami and myself, but to have the opportunity to not only be a part of an inaugural program, but one that will change our province indefinitely is pretty powerful. Yeah. And yeah, it's been a lot. Like Tami sugarcoated it a bit. Like there's been moments where we're like, oh my Lord, like, what, like, where is this going?
But it's a lot though. Like it's a lot what you're doing. And then like, did you at any point in this time, or maybe even now too, do you feel like a bit of like, I was going to say pressure, but maybe like responsibility to get this right? Or is it more like that opportunity to do something really impactable?
Yeah, I think, again, so there is that sort of pressure, because again, both of our professions have accreditation standards to make sure. So we have a responsibility to the upcoming students to make sure that we're coming from, you know, a program that's accredited. We both started those processes already for our programs. They do have to start before the students are even in the seats. You know, making sure that, like Kara said, we're meeting our competencies of our profession, or then making sure that they're integrated, and that's what the students are going to be accountable to once they're clinicians, as entry-level clinicians. And then the content of the curriculum. Again, we do have the opportunity to, we're going through faculty recruitment currently, so again, a lot of that build is still to come, so some of that pressure will be sort of, again, off to more members of a team, I guess I'll say. So yeah, there is definitely times where it's like, you know, the amount of change management is crazy. So there's constantly things changing or something that you didn't anticipate. But again, having the team, having that sounding board, and having that piece. But again, just having the bigger picture is just something that's been really meaningful in the back of my mind in terms of, again, like Kara said, that instrumental change to our Saskatchewan communities. Because again, that's one thing we hear from students coming from out of province, is they didn't realize our discharge planning is different, our community supports are different, even our communities are heterogeneous from other provinces, so not really understanding, you know, what it means to maybe support these people in this context with these resources and support structures. So being able to have that more integrated into their clinical program so that they can then be more efficient when they're graduates, or have more of an understanding of that uniqueness, I think is really exciting, because that's not something you can replicate taking programs in another province, right? Mm-hmm.
You bring up a good point too. Like, you're going to have teachers teaching. Like, it's not like you have to. Carrie, you don't have to do all the teaching, do you?
No, I do not.
Do you feel any pressure?
Yes, I think with any new program or any new initiative, there's always going to be amazing things and then growing pains, right? But again, like I keep coming back to it, like they have put together such an incredible team of people. And I even look at like the whole faculty recruitment process and the amount of, analysis and meeting with all these different universities across Canada, right? So between that and then working with the existing staff and faculty in the School of Rehab, like with the Masters of Physical Therapy program, that are kind of like, they've been here for 65 years, right? Or 60 or 65?
They're having their 60th anniversary
so
on
for
the 23rd
60
of May.
years,
Yeah.
guiding and offering their input. And so I think our students, like, yes, the pressure, but I think I still think it's going to be the end all be all, because we've had all these incredibly seasoned people supporting us along the way. Yeah. But
Just
pressure-
to sort of
pressure's
add to
real.
that is like the timeline. Like it's kind of unheard of that we have, like it takes usually, you'll hear other OT programs that are going through curriculum revamping or curriculum redesign. It's like they have 5 years and they can draw on their current faculty. And so with our programs opening in 2026, so for example, we got academic approval in April of 2025. So again, doing the next sort of phases will be some of that student recruitment, and the student admissions will open this fall of 2025 for the admissions for next year, right? So it's also the timeline, I think, is just something that's really unique to this project. So again, having that kind of in the back of our mind too, that things do take time, so we're maybe not going to get it perfect the first time, but as long as we have a robust evaluation, because we don't know what we don't know. And I think the student feedback will also be really interesting as well, to incorporate that for ongoing change to the curriculum. So we're doing the best we can with the information we have at the time, but also knowing that there'll be the reiteration, so 5 years from now may not look the same as we are when we open the program in 2026.
My boss at Sherbrooke always says, we are laying the path as we walk it. And I like that saying, because you're right, you don't know what you don't know, but let's go for it, and let's learn and see. So it would start in the fall of 2026 then, when you open? Okay.
Yeah.
This is a very big picture question, but how big is the demand right now in not only in Saskatchewan, but across the province for SLPs and for OTs? How badly do we need your services?
Yeah, so again, speaking to what Kara was talking to, it is part of the human resourcing plan, and we have, I've been on professional issue forums in the past with our national body from an occupational therapy perspective, where we're not really great at collecting data, but what we do have is we really are in an HHR crisis for like in my profession, and I'll let Kara speak to hers, but it's been something we've seen coming for a long period of time, especially with, just people leaving the profession for various reasons, retiring, working in different areas, taking leadership positions. So again, even in this province specifically, we have quite a few vacancies. We have a lot of positions, but just not the bodies to fill them. Again, the training program will definitely help with that. If people leaving the province tend maybe not to come back, especially at a graduate level. So if they have a family established, or maybe they get a little bit more, $1 an hour or something like that, they may just stay knowing they have student loans. So we're really, again, hoping that this program will have students that want to stay, go back to their home communities, and then again feed to that clinical piece. Because we do have, we'll hear from, again, if there was other clinicians here to speak, but they would definitely have long wait lists. Some of them have had to stop taking referrals because they're working off the side of their desk. They're constantly stretched. The morale has been a little bit low, especially in my profession in the last little while too, just kind of wanting to be able to get a breath of air. So I think, again, this program will, even though it's 2 years till we have graduates, there's still that optimism of, there is some movement forward, or some progression towards having those positions filled, maybe opportunities for new positions where OTs aren't currently recognized, and be able to create those positions and then be able to fill them with having those new clinicians going out into the province.
I'm so glad you brought up that last point, because and we were talking before we hit record, how I didn't know barely anything about occupational therapists, and then working at Sherbrooke these last eight years, you are such detectives, you solve problems, and I think there's so many areas of our world where you guys just fix problems, don't you?
Yeah, and I think, again, that's part of, that was definitely a draw to the profession for me too, was to be able to be creative in the intervention. So it's not just this maybe exercise prescription or this type of, A, B, C, and D. Really do work with the people in their own context, what they want to work on. So, I mean, I sew things, we've been MacGyvering, I've been doing different things with different splinting materials. So it's just a way to work together, and a unique thing that, and again, it's really rewarding, and I'm going to be selfish here for myself, to see, to support somebody thrive in a different way. But yeah, it's really a profession where we look at the problems, but also the strengths. So what do people still have in their reserve that we can use to make them successful, and really focus on that? Because it's very easy to come up with a problem list of several things. But again, they still have this strength, and how can we do that with some of our unique skill set, and, creating things, or adapting something different even in their own environment that maybe they just didn't think of, that they already have at their access. So yeah, that's kind of the amazing sort of piece of that profession. Like you say, yeah, it could be cutting a piece of foam all the way to making something crazy on a 3D printer, for example, to augment a piece of plastic to now they can access their wheelchair better, or something like that, right? It's just a nice way to sort of support those creativity. And I'm excited again for the students to maybe learn that about themselves that they didn't think they would necessarily know before they came in too. Mm-hmm.
That's so cool. Thank you for explaining that. Kara, what in terms of the need for SLPs in our community, how and I know you touched on this a bit earlier, but it's a big need, isn't it?
It really is. Yeah. And I'm hoping that as we have these exceptional graduate students going out into the communities, like as trained clinicians, that landscape will change for Saskatchewan, and that every Saskatchewan resident will have the services they need when they need them. And our population is growing, and we have babies being born younger and people living longer. And as such, we will always be in demand. So Saskatchewan is, rising up, and we're going to train are the best of the best in our field, and we're really hoping they all stay here and do great things.
I hope so too. What do the next few months look like for you as you continue to develop and like 2026 seems like a long ways away, but it probably isn't in your mind. You're shaking your heads. Like what do the next few months look like for you both?
It's very interesting that you asked that, because when we walked into these roles, there was kind of like, some polls, basically. Like there was like ideas and buckets to get started on, but nothing had really come together. Now things have really started to come together, and now we just have to kind of fill some spots. And so really big spots. But as faculty comes on, as the spaces like construction will start, right? Like as all of that starts to unfold, it will be very busy. But now it's like, oh wow, it's happening, right? Like we are getting ready, like our applications open to apply for the program. Yeah, so there's a lot of exciting things, and with exciting things come dominoes, because then lots of other work, right? But it really is coming together. And I think on April 17th, when we got the final academic council approval for both programs, like that's green lights. So we're ready to rock. We're ready to bring it all on and get going. So
that's awesome.
Yep.
Tami, what are the next few months going to look like for you?
Yeah, I think similar to Kara, it'll be probably continuing the work. Again, the accreditation piece for us, we have to have it, have to have that piece. And I find just with the faculty coming on, they'll have a lot of other pieces to work on in more detail, such as the curriculum. So I feel like I might just be a little bit of the continuous train track to sort of help with that. This is why things have been developed the way they are, supporting some of them coming on. Like Kara said, we are pretty heavy into the equipment and space piece. So again, what does the students need to support their learning in both the academic text as well as the fieldwork context or clinical placement? Because again, both of our programs have at least over 1,000 hours of hands-on experiential learning that's required as part of that process too, because they are doers. They are working with people. They are, again, developing programming. They're supporting program development and evaluation, all of those things. So they need to do that in the real world context in which they're going to be working. So again, working with our amazing clinical communities coming up, again, being part of some of that student recruitment to let people know, again, what the profession is. Because as you say, most people don't even know what that is, let alone that we have these amazing programs coming. So really working to support knowledge there. And then again, hopefully the clinical community can then have a little bit of breath of fresh air too, to know that the work that they have done up until this point has actually been for something, right? It hasn't been sometimes it feels like, we get to a certain part and then it seems to fall down, but hopefully at this point now they can know from an assurance that, again, what's under control to the best of our timeline is on track, and we are moving forward with having that 2026 opening. So
cool.
Yeah.
Will there, like, students, will there be a practicum part to it? Like, where they'll go out into the community?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what Kara spoke to sort of at the beginning. So they're called clinical placements. Yeah, so they'll go out to, and again, it's distributed throughout their 2 years and 3 months of the program. So they'll get some academic block in class lab setting, and then go out into those clinical placements. So again, like I say, it's 1,000 hours, and it's diverse experiences as we can. So hopefully wherever, again, those OTs and SLPs currently are, but as well as emerging roles. So again, if there's not already an OT or SLP on site, we can still have students there supported, and then maybe raise some awareness of what those professions are. And then in the past, we've been successful about having positions created because we've had student exposure and visibility there. So again, another amazing opportunity to kind of showcase the professions.
This is just wonderful. Kara's doing a dance right
It's happening. They're really happening. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's like after all these years, I have letters from like 2007 advocating for these programs. So like,
You were writing the letters
oh yes, years and years ago.
to the university? Or to...
Like ministry to educate, to get these programs. Yes, there was committees, same with OT. Like, so for Tami and I, again, to be a part of this inaugural program that our provinces, like the people of our province have been advocating for, and our professions have been advocating for decades, and now it's happening. Like, you can apply to go to school here this fall. Like, it's honestly surreal. It's beautiful, and I'm so excited. For all of it. Even if there is even if we don't get everything right, I'm still excited. And our students, and for our families and our communities, it's going to be a game changer. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, again, just speaking to that, just acknowledge that they're, like we say, the past, present, and future. So there's been talks with MLAs, there's been getting parents' testimonials to support the need for the professions, all of those things. I think, again, I just can't, the foundation had already been laid by so many generations of our profession. So again, similar to Kara, just being able to be a part of this in any way for as long as it makes sense has just really been a privilege for me. Even my mug is in some of the pictures, so I can't wait till we have more people on board so that it's somebody else kind of representing our profession that way. But again, it's just been an amazing experience, and I've learned a lot about myself sort of going through this as well, having different leadership roles. But again, it's really hard to describe because, again, there's been nothing sort of like our roles before, so it's kind of amazing. Mm-hmm.
You're trailblazers.
Yeah, we try to be.
Can I just say, and thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. I'm so happy for you both. And I know, Tami, I haven't known you that long, but I can tell how much this means to you. And in speaking with other people that do know you, they tell me how dedicated they are, or you are, to this, and how much work you've put into this, in your field. And so it's clear how much this means to you. So I'm so happy for you. And Kara, I've known you for a long time, and as someone, and I know for listeners who maybe don't know, Kara was the third guest on this podcast 7 years ago when you had the office just across the street. But I think the work that you do as someone who was a 4-year-old kid who could not talk in Swift Current, Saskatchewan, and my mom and dad had to advocate to get me some help, and I was with an SLP for 3 years, and you talked about having someone in their corner, in a family's corner, and they make a huge difference. And I imagine an OT would as well, in terms of just having someone advocate for you and be in your corner to help you. And so, and then I see the work that you do with residents at Sherbrooke as well, and I think of our friend Dave Harder. And so, I'm so happy for you as well. So
I am I have a tough time speaking about it because, yeah, it's going to be really incredible. And our families, whether you have a little kiddo or a parent or yourself have experienced something, should not ever feel alone, or that you don't have somebody in this field, for those areas that people need help with, supporting you. And so again, just having those trained, competent, amazing clinicians, coming out into our communities and trying to kind of be those champions for families and for families to know they have somebody to call and to work with, right? That gets it or can guide them or help them. And I'm excited for our students as well, because they won't work with any better people than the people in Saskatchewan. We have an incredible province, and it's it's going to be very, very good, and I hope well received. Yeah.
Thank you both so much. Good. Best of luck with everything. I hope we can stay in touch, and I'm so excited for you both. And what would that be like around the year 2028 when you're first graduating class?
Yeah.
You're going to be like proud parents in the front row, aren't you?
Yeah,
and
for
then
sure.
on a patio celebrating. Let's be real, Eric.
Okay.
We're gonna be really celebrating.
Thank you, Kara.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Tami.
Yeah, thanks so much for your time.
My thanks to Kara Brox and Tami Turner for taking time out of their very busy schedules to be on the podcast. I will put links to the UofS websites in the show notes that have all the information you need if you are interested in these new master's programs. You have been listening to Season 7, Episode 9 of YXE Underground. My name is Eric Anderson. I host, produce, and edit this local independent podcast. You can listen to YXE Underground wherever you find your favorite podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods, or the website yxeunderground.com. Please feel free to leave a 5-star review if you like what you hear. Those reviews really do make a difference. So if you're wanting to leave one, that would just be wonderful. You can follow YXE Underground on social media. Simply search YXE Underground on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. That's where you'll find some lovely photos of Kara and Tami taken by Saskatoon photographer Molly Shikoski. My thanks to my cousin, Andrew Dixon, for creating the original theme music for the podcast, and to Saskatoon's Danger Dynamite for creating and maintaining the website. I also want to give a big shout out to everyone who attended our free movie screening at the Remy Modern of the Pixar classic WALL-E. I think we were like maybe 8 or 10 seats away from selling out the theater, which was just wonderful, and it was such a great vibe. And I saw lots of old podcast guests and lots of friends and family, but it was also great meeting lots of new people who had never even heard of the podcast before. So to everyone who came out and supported the podcast, and it was just a really wonderful night. I just want to say a big thank you, full of gratitude to you, and once again a big thank you to Kyle Zervinsky and everyone at the Remy for making this possible. Kyle, you are the best, and I hope we can do it again soon. Before I go, I would like to acknowledge that this interview was gathered on Treaty 6 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis. YXE Underground is a production of the Salthammer Production Company. My name is Eric Anderson. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you soon, Saskatoon.